Hello students. In our last few sessions, already we have talked about the topic pollination and the different agents of pollination. After pollination, the next step is fertilization. So in our today's session, we are going to discuss the topic fertilization and the post-fertilization changes. So before going to discuss about the fertilization process, you have to understand the structure of mainly the female reproductive part and the male reproductive part, that is the gynosium and the androsium. So in the androsium part, already it is discussed, but then also I am repeating once, it mainly consists of two parts. One is anther and another one is filament. So this anther part, inside this anther part, pollen grains are being produced, and this is the part that is named gynosium or pistil, and this gynosium or the female part mainly contains three parts: stigma, upper part, then style, and then ovary, the solen part, base part, that is known as ovary. Inside the ovary, that is ovule. You can see here that inside the ovule also one structure is there that is named as embryo sac. This structure, this is known as embryo sac. Here you can see the detailed structure of embryo sac. So first let's understand that thing. What are there inside the embryo sac? Mainly at the micropylar end. Micropyle is the base part, one opening you can say at the base of the ovary. So this micropylar end consists of three cells. At the middle, the cell is egg cell. This is the main cell inside which the female gamete is there, egg cell. And beside the egg cell, two cells are there, helps in the reproduction or fertilization. They are known as cyanogens. At the central position of the embryo sac, that is known as central cell, inside which two nuclei are present, they are known as polar nuclei. And here at the opposite end of the micropylar end, three cells are present, they are known as antipodal cells. So this is almost the structure of embryo sac, which is situated inside the ovule. This one, embryo sac. Now we can discuss the fertilization process. Actually, fertilization is the process in which mainly the fusion of nuclei of male and female gametes takes place. When a pollen grain lands on the surface of a stigma is here, okay? It is the sticky part on which the pollen grain can be dropped, and after the pollination, the pollen grain germinates and pollen tube is formed. You can see here, this is known as pollen tube, which pollen tube mainly carries the sperm cells or the male gametes. These male gametes mainly enter through the micropylar end inside the ovary, fused with the egg cell, and form the zygote. So here you can see at the tip of the pollen tube, two male cells, male gametes or sperm cells are present. These tubes grow down the style. This one is style part to reach the ovules in the ovary. Inside each ovule there is a egg cell. This one already I have told when I was discussing the Gynosium structure. Now here is the details of the fertilization. A pollen tube grows from pollen grain down the style through the micropylar end into the ovule, that already I have told you. Now two sperm nuclei, these two sperm nuclei which enter to the ovary through the ovules, entered to the ovules through the micropylar end. This actually discharged into the embryo sac, resulting in double fertilization. Here you can see this double fertilization means two types of fertilization are there simultaneously inside the embryo sac. So in one fertilization, one male gamete fuses with the egg nucleus or egg cell to form the diploid zygote formation, and another male gamete, because you know that the pollen tube contains two male gametes. So one gamete fuses with the egg cell to form the zygote, and one male gamete fuses with the two polar nuclei that are placed at the central position, this one, to form the triploid endosperm nucleus. So two types of structures are formed. One is zygote, the fertilized egg will develop into the embryo, and the fertilized central cell will develop into the endosperm. As two fertilization is occurring, so that's why it is known as double fertilization. So here you can see double fertilization in details. So you can see this already I have told, antipodal cells at the central position, polar nuclei are placed. At the down micropylar end, two synergids, and at the middle egg cell is there. So pollen tube enters inside the ovule or embryo sac, release of sperm cells. One sperm cell is fused with the egg cell. Here you can see the purple colored nucleus, that is the male nucleus or sperm nucleus, that is fused with the egg cell producing zygote, and one is going to the central cell fused with the two polar nuclei and form endosperm. Now here you can see the definition of fertilization. The process of fusion of the male and female gametes is known as fertilization. The result of the fusion is a cell called zygote. The zygote cell multiplies and develops into an embryo. So zygote after that produces that will give rise to the embryo. After that, which produce the seed, okay, and the endosperm that is produced by the fusion of central cell or polar nuclei and the sperm nuclei. So here you can see the post-fertilization changes, that is the development of fruits and seeds. Actually, after the fertilization, the main thing that is happening, the production of fruits and seeds. Now here in this table you can see here the floral parts, different parts of the flowers are written, and their fate after the fertilization is written here. So first one is sepals, petals and stamens, all wither and drop off. Ovary that becomes the fruit, ovary wall that becomes the fruit wall, ovule that becomes the seed. Integuments actually the outer covering of the ovule, protective layer of the ovule that forms the seed coat. And lastly, the fertilized egg that forms the embryo that is situated inside the seed. So ovary is the fruit is the ripened ovary and seed is the ripened ovule. And inside the seed, the embryo is there, which is actually the fertilized egg. So here you can see with the picture, that is the flower inside which inside the actually gynosium the zygote is formed, flower just after the fertilization. Now these petals wilt or wither off and this embryo develops from the zygote, then seed develops from ovule, then fruit develops from the ovary, and when the fruit ripens, flower parts follow. So students, today we have discussed the full fertilization process. What is fertilization, what is zygote, endosperm, embryo, these all are very, very important. And lastly, we have discussed about the post-fertilization changes. In the next class, we will discuss about the seed and germination process. Till then, bye and have a nice day, students.